I am your host, Faisal. Today's story is very interesting. Welcome to my channel, TSB on the Porch, and let's.
I never thought a broken car would be the reason my life changed direction. If you asked me back then, I would have said nothing important was happening in my world. I was just working, coming home, and trying to keep my head quiet. But one ordinary Saturday morning, standing outside my townhouse with a package in my hands, I met someone who would slowly turn my normal life upside down in the calmest way possible. My name is Charlie. I am 30 years old, and I work for a small car repair company on the edge of town. I am not the owner. I am not the loud guy who talks big. I am the one people call when something will not start, sounds strange, or feels wrong. I like fixing things because machines make sense. They break for a reason. Life usually does not. 3 months earlier, I had moved into a quiet row of townhouses. I wanted peace. I wanted a place where nobody argued through the walls, and nobody cared what time I came home. I thought I had found exactly that. I did not know that quiet places can still change you. That morning, I stepped outside to grab a delivery. That is when I saw her. She was standing next to her car, arms crossed, staring at the hood like it had personally offended her. She looked frustrated, but calm, like someone who had already tried everything and accepted defeat. When she noticed me, she gave a tired smile and asked if I knew anything about cars. I laughed a little and told her I knew a bit. I offered to take a look. She stepped aside without hesitation. No flirting, no awkwardness, just relief. It was a simple problem. The battery connection was loose. I cleaned it, tightened it, and told her to try again. The car started right away. She looked surprised, then genuinely relieved. Not just because the car worked, but because someone had taken her seriously. Her name was Regina. She lived right next door and worked from home in accounting. We talked for 5 minutes, maybe less. Normal things. Nothing personal. Before she left, she thanked me and mentioned her husband was away for work most of the time. I did not react to that. I just nodded and told her I was around if she ever needed help. That night, she sent me a short text thanking me again. I replied with a thumbs up. That was it. Over the next few days, we saw each other here and there. A wave while checking the mail, a quick hello by the trash cans. Nothing more. But I noticed something. Every time we spoke, she seemed calmer, like she could finally breathe for a second. It was not attraction. It was comfort. And that mattered more than I realized at the time. One evening after work, I was sitting on my porch enjoying the cool air when she walked by with groceries. I offered to help, but she said she was fine. Still, she stopped and sat down on the step beside me. She asked how long I had lived there. I told her I moved for peace. She said quietly that peace was something she had not felt in a long time. I did not ask why. I just listened. After a moment, she asked about car repair shops because her car had started making a strange noise. I told her which places were honest and which ones overcharged. She listened carefully, thanking me more than necessary. Then she asked if I could take a quick look the next evening. I agreed, not as a favor with meaning attached, just as a neighbor. The next day after work, she was waiting by her car. I checked the engine, then sat inside to hear the sound she described. She was right. Something was wrong. We sat there quietly, leaning slightly closer just to hear each other speak. It was not romantic. It was calm. Then she said something that caught me off guard. She told me she did not get to talk to people like this, that her husband traveled a lot, and when they talked it felt like business, like she was just another task. She said she felt invisible most days. I did not judge her. I did not say anything bad about her husband. I just told her that her worth did not disappear just because someone failed to see it. She whispered thank you and let out a slow breath, like she had been holding it in for years. We talked about simple things after that. Music, work, weather. Before I left, I told her clearly that I was just her neighbor and her friend. Nothing complicated. She nodded, and I could tell that boundary made her feel safe. I walked back inside feeling calm in a way I had not felt before. I did not know why yet. I only knew something had started, and it had nothing to do with flirting or attraction. A week later, her car got worse. One afternoon, she knocked gently on my door and asked if I would go with her to the repair shop. She did not want to go alone. I said yes. We drove in silence. Comfortable silence. At the shop, they told us it would take hours, so we waited in the car with the windows cracked open, air moving softly around us. She leaned back and rubbed her forehead, then made a quiet joke about wishing life came with instructions like cars do. I smiled, but I could see how tired she really was. After a while, she asked if she could tell me something without being judged. I nodded. She said she felt married on paper but not in real life. That her husband was there but not really there. She said she did not want attention, she just wanted to feel seen. I stayed quiet. I listened, and then she said something so honest, so unexpected, that it changed the air between us completely. I wish you were my husband. And in that moment, I knew nothing would ever feel simple again. Her words stayed in the air longer than they should have, not because they were romantic, but because they were heavy with truth. I did not feel excited or proud. I felt careful. When someone says something like that, it is not about desire, it is about absence. I took a slow breath before speaking. I told her she was not saying that because of me. She was saying it because of what she was missing. The words landed gently, but I could see the moment she realized how honest she had been. Her shoulders tightened. She apologized quickly, saying she did not mean to make things strange. I told her it was not strange. She was hurting, and hurting people sometimes say things out loud that they have been holding in for years. I made it clear that I was not there to replace anyone. I was just her neighbor, someone who listened. She closed her eyes for a moment, fighting emotion. Not tears, just exhaustion. She asked me what she should do. I told her I could not decide that for her, but whatever choice she made, it had to be for herself, not because of me or anyone else. We sat there in silence after that. It was not awkward. It was necessary. When the mechanic finally called us over, the moment passed, but it did not disappear. We sat on the curb while they checked the car. Regina wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. She told me I had been more honest with her in 2 weeks than her husband had been in years. I reminded her again that I was not trying to take his place. She said she knew. That was why she trusted me. Trust is a quiet thing. It does not rush. It settles. After that day, nothing suddenly changed. There were no late-night texts, no secret meetings, no tension-filled looks. Instead, real life moved forward slowly. Regina did not lean on me emotionally. She did something stronger. She took space. Weeks passed. We still saw each other, but less often. She focused on her work. She spent time outside. I could tell she was thinking, weighing things carefully. I respected that. I did not chase her. I did not try to be present in ways that would confuse her or myself. One evening, about 2 weeks later, she knocked on my door again. Calm, steady. She asked if we could walk for a bit. We walked down the street as the sky turned orange and the air cooled. She told me she had talked to her husband. There was no drama in her voice, no anger. She said he did not argue, he did not ask questions, he simply accepted it. That hurt her more than yelling ever could have. She admitted she had hoped he would fight for them, that he would show something. She turned to me and said something important. She did not leave because of me. She left because she could not stay in something that felt empty. I told her that was the right reason. She said she was scared, not of being alone, but of starting over, of making the wrong choice, of facing herself without distractions. I told her fear meant she was doing something real. People who feel nothing do not grow. A few days later, she told me the paperwork was finalized. She was officially single. There was no celebration, just acceptance. I told her the most important thing now was not what happened between us. She needed to heal, to breathe, to find herself again. She agreed. She said she did not want to jump into anything. She wanted something real or nothing at all. Weeks turned into months. Regina did not disappear into sadness. She surprised me. She started jogging in the mornings. She reconnected with friends. She laughed more easily. When we talked, it was light and normal. Movies, food, small complaints about work. Nothing heavy, nothing loaded. I watched her become herself again, and I realized something important. If anything ever happened between us, it would only work if she was whole. One evening, months later, she knocked on my door again. This time, she was different. Lighter. Steady. She asked if we could talk. We sat on my steps and talked about life, about mistakes, about lessons learned. Then she said something that told me everything had changed. She said she was not running from something anymore. She was building something. She stood up to leave and thanked me for not trying to fix her. I told her she had fixed herself. That night, I went to bed knowing something was growing. Not from chaos, from clarity. After that conversation, nothing rushed forward. And that was the first sign that whatever was forming between us was real. There was no pressure, no sudden shift in behavior, no expectations spoken out loud. Life just continued, but it felt steadier than before. Regina and I stayed neighbors first. Sometimes we talked for a few minutes outside. Sometimes we went days without seeing each other. And that was okay. There was no anxiety in the silence anymore. She was not leaning on me for support. She was standing on her own. I could see the difference in her. Her posture was stronger. Her voice sounded clearer. She laughed without hesitation. The woman who once looked exhausted next to her broken car was slowly becoming someone confident again. One evening, she knocked on my door holding a small paper bag. She smiled and said she had tried cooking and thought it might be edible. I laughed and invited her to sit on the porch steps with me. We ate there, talking about nothing important. No candles, no music, just food, streetlights, and real-life sounds around us. Halfway through, she leaned her shoulder gently against mine and said it felt normal. I told her that normal was good. We sat in silence after that, and it did not feel empty. It felt safe. After a while, she turned toward me, serious but calm. She said she knew she had taken time to heal, and she was glad she did. Then she said she knew what she wanted now. She looked at me directly and said she wanted to build something real with me, not because she needed me, because she chose me. I did not give a dramatic answer. I told her I wanted the same thing, that I was here, not to save her or replace anyone, but to walk forward with her. She smiled, not excited or overwhelmed, just relieved, like someone who finally allowed herself to choose happiness without guilt. From that moment on, we did not announce anything. We just became us, slowly, naturally. We went on quiet walks after work. We cooked dinners together, some successful, some terrible. We laughed when things went wrong. We talked about the future without painting fantasy pictures. She never treated me like a replacement for someone who failed her. She treated me like a partner. And I never treated her like a prize. I treated her like someone to build with. One afternoon, I helped her finish the last repair on her car. The engine ran smoothly for the first time in months. She joked that I should charge her. I told her the payment was lifetime emotional support. She laughed and said she would take that deal. We stood there leaning against the car, both of us knowing how symbolic it was. Something broken had brought us together. Something fixed had changed everything. A week later, she finished moving the last of her things into her townhouse. She did not rush to move in with me. She wanted to do things right. But she asked me to help hang shelves and arrange furniture. That night, surrounded by boxes, she leaned against me on the couch, not for stability, for comfort. She whispered that she had waited a long time to feel calm. I told her I had too. And in that moment, I knew this was not a story about drama or rescue. It was a story about two people choosing each other at the right time, the right way. Our life together did not arrive with fireworks or loud promises. It arrived quietly, the same way everything meaningful had between us. Through showing up, through honesty, through choosing each other without fear. The weeks after that felt steady. Not exciting in a dramatic way, but comforting in a way I had never known before. Regina and I settled into something real. We did not rush milestones. We did not talk about forever every night. We focused on now. We cooked together after work, sometimes at her place, sometimes at mine. Some meals were good, some were complete failures. We laughed through all of them. We went on slow walks around the neighborhood, talking about small things that somehow felt important. What kind of mornings we liked, how silence used to scare her, how I had learned to feel safe being alone before I ever met her. She never leaned on me like she needed me to survive. That mattered. She stood next to me, not behind me. And I never felt like I had to prove myself to her. We just existed comfortably. One afternoon, a few months into being together, her car made a noise again. We both laughed when she called me outside. I opened the hood and fixed the issue in minutes. When I finished, she stood there watching me with a soft smile. You know, she said, "This car's been breaking down less, but my life finally feels like it works." I smiled back. Funny how that happens. Later that evening, we sat on the porch drinking coffee as the sun went down. She leaned into me, not needing reassurance, just enjoying the moment. She told me she used to think love had to be loud to be real. Now she knew better. She said calm love felt stronger. Months passed. Seasons changed. Nothing dramatic happened, and that was the most beautiful part. We met each other's friends. We supported each other through stressful work weeks. We argued once or twice, talked it out, and moved forward without bitterness. One night, while we were sitting on the couch watching something neither of us was paying attention to, she looked at me and smiled in that quiet way that meant she had already thought things through. She said she was glad she waited, glad she did not jump from pain into comfort, glad she chose clarity over fear. I told her I was glad too. Because I did not want to be someone she needed. I wanted to be someone she chose. She rested her head on my shoulder and said that was exactly why she loved me. There was no rush to change everything after that. No pressure to make big announcements. We just kept building. Day by day. Brick by brick. Sometimes, when we sit outside in the mornings drinking coffee and talking about nothing at all, I think back to that first day. The broken battery. The polite smile. The simple offer to help. It still amazes me how the most ordinary moments can lead to the most unexpected connections. We started as neighbors. We became friends. We became something real. And every time I hear her car start smoothly, I smile, knowing that fixing a small problem once helped both of us find a life that finally runs the way it should.
I hope you enjoyed today's tale. What are your thoughts about the story? Please tell me in the comments and subscribe, like, and share my channel.